Welcome back to Muskeg Tea with Chantel G, Season 2. Today, I'm honored to welcome you into episode 3, where we sit in circle with a powerful, multi talented, and deeply rooted Indigenous artist, Jasmine Nahbexie Desjardin, also known as Jazzy G. Jasmine is an Indigenous multidisciplinary artist, poet, writer, traditional artist, cultural art instructor, and a conscious hip hop artist. She is Dene Sikli Nakota French and Nehewen with roots in Coal Lake and White Bear First Nations. Raised in Edmonton and now living back in Coal Lake, Jasmine is also a proud mother of 3 and a passionate cultural arts educator. Her work is grounded in land based practices, which includes high tanning, beading, quill work, tuffing, and sewing, each carrying ancestral knowledge, healing, and deep cultural memory. Through her hands and her voice, Jasmine brings forward teachings that reflect resilience, community, and spirit. Jasmine's journey has not been easy. She is a survivor of homelessness, trauma, addiction, and domestic violence. Rather than letting those experiences define her, she's transformed her pain into purpose. A life changing accident further deepened her healing journey and strengthened her reclamation of self, culture, and voice. Through conscious hip hop and poetry, Jasmine found that voice, starting sharing her truth in powerful community spaces like iHuman Youth Society. One defining moment came when she met DJ Kool Herc at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, affirming her path as an Indigenous artist and truth teller. She is a graduate of the National Indigenous Professional Artist Training Program, holds a fine arts degree from the University of Victoria, and completed the Diamonds Mindset program in 2025. Today, she teaches Dene cultural arts, blending traditional knowledge with creative expression to empower youth, family, and communities. This episode is about reclamation, creativity, survival, and spirit. It's about turning lived experiences into medicine, and I'm so grateful to share this space with her today. Help me welcome Jasmine Nahbexie Desjardin to the circle. Good afternoon, Jasmine. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the intro in your own words and share who you come from?
I love the introduction. It's like you don't even realize what you do until someone else says it.
Oh my goodness, it's so inspiring on just how much you have accomplished so far and still adding more to your knowledge bundle, your creative bundle. It's just so cool that I get to share circle with you today. When did you first realize that art wasn't just something you loved, but something you were meant to build a livelihood from?
I think, well, I think it's because like when I was 14, I was started to live on my own. I was homeless and I started getting into addictions and all that lifestyle at that age. Like I started experimenting with drinking and drugs. Basically, when when I learned hip hop and I learned about indigenous way of life, like my creed teacher guided me and my music teacher guided me. Brett Lashwa, he created Beat of Boyle Street, and it's such a humbling experience because through that program, we were able to give back to the youth, right? And from the passions of art, that's when I started to realize you can actually go further. You can change your circumstances. You can move forward. And I remember feeling hopelessness, and I remember not having anything to eat and nowhere to go, and Boyle Street and iHuman Youth Society helped me get on my feet, and it was really art based. So those lived experiences helped shape who I am today, right? In iHuman, we did this play at the Citadel Theater called Down to the Grit, and it was such a beautiful experience, and we did a hip hop kind of thing, and it was at the Citadel Theater. It was a really deadly play. We learned harm reduction. We learned to like help one another, guide one another, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. And then like with the Beat of Boyle Street, if it wasn't for Brett Lashwell, we just had a laptop, a microphone, and headphones, and that was our recording studio. And then when I turned about 16, turning 17, they transformed that laptop and headphones to an actual recording studio. and it's so beautiful because it like helped shape who we are today. And I got to work with amazing people like Angela Gladue and Matt Wood, and they taught hip hop and they taught us breakdancing and they taught us to be ourselves, no matter what trauma, they push us forward. So it's such a beautiful experience to work with our youth and pushing forward. And it's just so beautiful. And I really love the art base because it helped heal me when I didn't know my way of life. I didn't know my culture really that well. I didn't know my language because of my grandma Doris. Her sister died in her arms at Blue Quills when she was just a little girl. Her sister Caroline Manus didn't make it home. She was mailed home in a cardboard box. So we got assimilated, my family. And so my grandma, she didn't know how to pass on the language. She did pass me on culture. She taught me how to sew moccasins. She taught me how to sew. I wasn't allowed to touch, but I'm really good at observing, like watching people do stuff. So that's like a gift. And we're gifted as Indigenous people. We get put in different areas, what we're good at. And yeah, I'm really thankful. But the hard part about it was that I had to see my grandma take her last breath in order for me to stop doing drugs. So I've been clean off hard drugs for 21 years.
That is such a huge milestone, and I'm so proud of you. I want to do a shout out to iHuman. They do great things for our youth in the city. And I also want to do a shout out to Angela Gladue, Miss Chief Rocker. She has been in the scene, the hip hop scene and the powwow scene for a very, very long time. She does amazing work wherever she goes, and youth empowerment is very important to her. And then also Matt Wood, like these people, I feel like these people come into our lives to help us and guide us, and it's always meant to be so beautiful. And when it comes to like our Indigenous people, like we've come so far. And when it comes to colonization and the way the government and the churches tried to assimilate us, like they legit tried to eliminate us. And we're so resilient, and we're still here, and it just takes us a while to overcome these circumstances of addiction. And like even with our mental health, like it takes us a while to overcome these issues. But at the same time, like when we have people like Angela or even Matt, our agencies like Boyle Street, like they really support us in good ways. And so I just wanted to do a shout out to them. I'm so grateful for our helpers and that can guide us through these tragedies. Thank you so much for sharing that. Your work spans traditional arts, poetry, and conscious hip hop. How did you learn to honor all those parts of yourself while building your brand as an Indigenous entrepreneur?
Like what I mentioned, when I was 14, I remember going up to Jelly Bean and being hey, check out my rhymes. And then we're like spitting it back and forth. We literally had to fight over the music at lunchtime between the B-boys and the B-girls and the MCs. Yeah, it was like, they used to have like live ciphers, and that's the very first time I really got to understand like hip hop when it was on 101, in Edmonton. And it was such an experience. And that's when I started really like rhyming and spitting rhymes with like Mike Sound, Jelly Bean, 1D. And these are like local hip hop artists that help shape who I am as an MC. I just miss them. And like it's so beautiful. It's such a different experience, like it is hardship because a lot of the people I grew up with are no longer here. I've seen so many different tragedies, like people that didn't make it. They didn't make it out because they didn't understand what we know now from like residential school, from 60 scoop to foster care, day school. And I've been personally affected by all the above. We're taking back our culture. We're learning our languages. We're helping. We're showing up for community. We're the movement of pushing forward, and it's so beautiful and it's so empowering when we're able to share our stories, our lived stories, and help somebody that needs it, and yeah.
For real, like we don't know who's listening, and even to our listeners now, like, we don't know who's gonna get inspired. Like 10 could be 10 listeners, and out of those 10, it could be one that really needed to hear this message, and it'll spark something within them, maybe ignite that fire that's within them to remember, like, okay, this is where I come from, and there are people out there that have experienced the same things that I have, and I'm not alone in this, and hopefully inspire them to start their healing journey. Because like for me, I didn't start my healing journey until 2016. That's years ago, right? And so for me, it's still very fresh. Years isn't very long. And so having these conversations is that reminder we're not alone. We're not alone on this journey, and we're meant to cross paths with certain people. And some of them come as lessons, and some of them come as blessings. And I know for myself, being able to cross paths with you, it's a blessing. I hope that I can come out to community and attend one of your cultural art events. I know you've done already so many within the new year. Like, you're a very busy woman. I'm so inspired by you. And I know for myself, one of my goals for 2026 is to learn how to be. And I've even told Angela that I'm like, we got to have a beading session, but first I need some beads.
Yes, yes. Like you think about it, like when we talk about beading and sewing, right? The very first type of beads that we had was like porcupine quills, and then we dye it with natural dyes, and then we'd trade our shells and stuff like that. Like amongst us indigenous people, we did more trading, like sunias. No money wasn't part of our lingo, and sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
find myself going back to old ways and bartering and stuff like that. I still practice those ways. I still give away a lot of stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
just part of being indigenous. And a lot of these teachings we weren't raised with are brought up with. And yeah. Usually when we do when I do workshops, usually I tell people it's good to give away your very first thing. Like it could be to your sister, it could be to your auntie, your uncle, your cousin, your best friend. It's just good to do because then that brings in that goodness, that good energy, and then you're able to do it in the future, right? It's like a give and take
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And a lot of people aren't brought up that way, but they're learning. And I think that's just
Yes.
really beautiful. And yes, more people come to these workshops. It's so good and it's so healing because it heals me too. Because I remember not understanding culture, not understanding the teaching, and I'm still learning the language. And sometimes I think I
Yes.
don't say the right words. But Miasawen, it's good. It's good.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, for real. I just loved how you explained before colonization, our beads used to be the quills. That is just so beautiful. Our culture is just so beautiful. And I just love that description of how we used to do things before colonization, and our work just turned out so amazing. I just love that so much. So what does entrepreneurship look like when it's rooted in culture, ceremony, and community rather than the hustle culture?
I actually had to step back from hustle culture. I had to take a look at like what I do and where I'm going. Cause when you put money into any situation, it's gonna like stir up some kind of toxicity. I'm finding what I mean by that. Like there's like people, oh, you're biting my style. Oh, you're doing this. And when you do it from a place from your heart, it's a different kind of energy that you bring forward, right? So I had to step back. And I remember some of my authentic our elders' teachings, they told me when I was beading and sewing that what I had to do the five petal like this, right? I had to do
Mm-hmm.
it exactly like this and do it over and over and over until I got it right. And that's part of passing down the tradition. That's part of passing down culture. So we're losing a lot of our ways because of this. You're biting my style, you're doing this when we should be helping one another and lifting each other up instead of like how colonization is set us up to do. So when I do my art and I'm like doing it from culture and ceremony, there are some things that like I will not post on social media. There are some things that I will just gift somebody something. And I will do trading with people too, because sometimes I will not take money depending on what it is. And that's if you're
Mm-hmm.
following protocol and you're listening to your spirit, because your spirit guides you. It shows you you know? And I'm learning this more that I step into a different way of life, right? Because this year or last year, I went to my first Sundance and it was such a beautiful experience. And it totally changed the way that I look at entrepreneurship because I got to see like my family that I wasn't raised with. I got to sit down and have a meal with my kukum and I got to dance and it was just something I never felt before. And it just changed my outlook on how I see business. And we as Indigenous women, as Squayos, we're here to help one another, you know? We're here to share our stories and help them so that they're not doing this alone anymore. And then once we heal our families and then we start healing our community. And it takes like us to come together instead of this divide and conquer that you see. Like imagine how powerful and beautiful it'll be if we all came together instead of the way that we're arguing amongst one another when we should be like planting those seeds and teaching each other how to build homes, how to live off the land, how to pick medicines, how to live like in harmony and balance and respecting the water because the water levels were so low and the drought and then the land and the animals suffer. And then you're talking about the four-legged, the two-legged, the winged ones, the insects, the water life, you know? And there's so much more than what we see. And it's like, okay, we're talking about future generations and like what we live now is like how do we pass on these teachings to our young ones so that they continue to live in that way and being respectful to the land and to each other, respectful to the elders, respectful to one another. Yeah. And it's like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was deep and beautiful. Just listening to you, like that reminder of just how, like that connection to family, that connection to ceremony, that connection just to spirit. Like, oh my gosh, as you're just sharing that, I'm like holding back my tears because, oh my gosh, there's just so much spirit and that good medicine. I hope those that are listening can feel what I'm feeling right now because the way you said that, it was like so poetic. I just love that so much. Like, thank you so much for sharing that. It's even like a reminder for myself because I kind of feel like I've been disconnected. I haven't gone to ceremony in a minute. I think the last ceremony that I went to was beginning of December. I went to the full moon ceremony at Blue Quills, and that's what I need right now. I just need that recharge, go to ceremony, and ground myself. And another thing too, I do have a little bit of beads here. That's what I need to do. I need to pull out my beads and just try to put something together. Maybe reach out to my cousin and tell her, let's do this Zoom right now.
You know, we need one another because sometimes we don't come from big families. Some of us, like
Mhm.
for myself personally, I come from addictions, like family with addictions. And it's really hard when your mom does drugs and comes out of it and then goes back into it, then comes out of it, then goes back into it. And I grew up around the negative lifestyle. Like it wasn't always this way. It wasn't always like who I am today. I grew up around drinking. I grew up around drugs. I grew up around it. I grew up around red alert. I grew up around things that I wouldn't talk about. And yeah, like to be who I am now to where I come from took a lot of crying and releasing and adopting my family, like my mama piece. I adopted her. She adopted me and I adopted her as my mama. And she came into my life and like brought me that good medicine that taught me that there is way more than just what I've been through. Because I've been through a lot in my life. I've been sexually molested. I've been raped. I've been in and out of foster care. I've been in a group like atomic home that was run by nuns. And I've been through a lot living from place to place to place. And I've gone through a lot, even in an abusive relationship that like, I was in for 15 years that was not healthy, you know? And I didn't realize how much, like, I didn't realize that it was negative because of what I've been through my whole life. but I started like healing. I started going to different programs like CJS, like that runs through Calgary, that helps vulnerable women and it teaches them types of abuse. And then I went to this other program by my good friend Monica, my sister Monica Basco, and she does this woman optimizing woman, this program in Manning, and it was such a beautiful program. It's like whereas women come together and help one another, no matter what color our skin is. You could be white, you could be native, you could be any color, and we just got along listening to different podcasts. I just love that, listening to them, you know. There's like a whole list of them that I listen to, but for some reason I can't think of their names. Yeah, it's just, you know, there is places and there's people that are healing and there's people that will help you once you start reaching out. Because it isn't what happened to you, it's how you use your story to help you heal. And then Diamond Mindset, they showed us that, like they showed us in that program, to heal your inner child, to heal your woman self, to heal your teenage self, and how we move forward, be able to share our stories in a good way. There was a time where I was super angry and wasn't dealing with anything, and it was just wasn't a good cycle until I had to step away. And it's been hard because my kid's dad, he took my older two kids from me when I wanted to get away from him, and he wouldn't let me talk to them, wouldn't let me see them. And then my son comes home to me 4 months later because I raised my kids, because he was out working all the time, and he would cheat on me and he would lie to me and he would abuse me in a lot of different ways, like bite my face, push me and pull me out of moving vehicles and throw me off the bed and things like that. But it took a long time for me to get on my feet and say, like, no, this is enough. Like, I'm not going back. And I love my home that I built for me and my children. It's so beautiful. Like, I have people that show up for me and that are my family. Like, even though we're not blood related, like some of them, they come here and it's healing. And it's good because the kids are healing. They see more than just drinking every weekend. They see more than just the drug life. They see someone sober, and to that, it's empowering. One sober native can change a lot because they want us to destroy ourselves from the inside out. How much time people destroy their organs and they only get one set. You only get one kidney. You only get like one liver, one heart, and those kind of things. And you got to love yourself. You got to say, hey, this is enough. Even if it's 1 hour, even if it's one day at a time, you know, it takes a lot just to get sober. And I know I've watched my dad take his last breath. He was hooked up to dialysis, and it was such a moment because like I lost my dad like 5-6 years ago now, and to see him connected to all those things, and it was so hard because it was self-inflicted. He went through the penitentiary, he lived the life of the streets, and so did my mom. My mom didn't know any different either. I don't blame my mom. I forgive her for everything that she's been through because I wouldn't be here today, right? Like my real mom, she lived through the life of the streets. She knew what inner city was before I was even born, and it kind of got passed down to my generation too. I knew what inner city was. I know what that kind of life cycle and expand and not understanding like who we are as Indigenous people. Like even like having my dad in and out of penitentiary and not really having him in my life because he went to day school and what he went through. It's just like, I wonder what my life would have been like. But it takes us as people to take responsibility for our own actions and say, hey, I don't want this lifestyle. I want to move forward. I want to live in a good way. And being on the land is where I feel the safest. I went wilderness camping, and oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was like a bunch of stars and the land and everything was fresh and there was fire cooked meal and it was so good. And then there was like a bear. He came and visited. We have to stay off their pathway because like that's their turf. I wasn't scared. So we built a bathroom, right? And then Sas, what we call it, and then you call him Sas. And then, yeah, or you call him Muskwa. Anyways, he came and he took a big dump right on the pathway to prove that that's his territory. Yeah, this is funny. And it was just like, I wasn't scared though. Like, I knew that the bear was there, but I just wasn't afraid. It's just like, and then the next night, a wolf, like we could hear a baby wolf howling, and I wasn't scared. Like
Oh
to
my
me,
gosh.
I felt safe. I felt protected,
Yes.
because those it was
Hmm.
on the land, and it was so healing, and I had like the best sleep.
Oh my gosh, yes. Just listening to that, I feel like that's the indigenous urge within us. We're so connected with the land. We come from the land. And so when these animals come around, we're just like, I can talk to you. I know I can talk to you. I know you can understand me too. And of course, like you said, the bear just dropped a turd because he's like, "Yep, this is my trail. This is my path. Stay
Yeah,
clear."
we're in their turf, we're in their
Mm-hmm.
land, and it's just like we're definitely not at the top of the pyramid, as they say, right? We're in circle. We live in harmony. We help one another in a cycle. So when they talk about like the medicine wheel, right? And when you talk about age, sometimes we're only down here on the medicine wheel. Like we haven't experienced the whole life cycle until we lived it,
Mm.
right? Because sometimes when we turn into an elder, we turn back into childlike, you know? And even our
Yes.
young people, they're like knowledge keepers and they're like young elders sometimes. And you can feel it in their spirit. You know that they're listening, you know that they're paying attention. And it's so beautiful when our men come together and they start healing and they start doing their drum music and they start living in balance. Because when our men heal, that's good. And it's good for our women when our women start healing too, because then that's living in balance again, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
we're not like this. We're more like living like this.
Yes, yes, such a beautiful reminder. I just love that. So that camp that you talked about, is that an annual camp or was that just a one-time experience?
It was more like a 2 or 3 times experience.
Okay.
But it wasn't major yet, but I would love to have something like that in the future where it's like geared towards land-based and learning to
Yes.
live off the land because so many of us are into this fast way of life where we're
Mm-hmm.
constantly, like on the go, go, go. But in nature, it's different. It's way
Mm-hmm.
different when you're in nature. It's not about you anymore. You got a reminder that you're this small to the world out there. We're all protected by our houses. We're all protected by our vehicles. Like, could you imagine having to go by wagon to go somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Or by a
Mm-hmm.
horse team? Or by a dog team? And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like what happens if we had to go back to that way of life? Like none of us are
Yes.
prepared because we're so used to turning on a flick of a light, a flick of a button, filling up our gas tanks to get from here to Edmonton in that 3, 4 hours.
Yes, yes. That is exactly what I was thinking today when I was turning the heat on in my house. I'm like, would I be able to survive if I didn't have this heat? Actually live off the land and be able to survive. Turning on the light switch. If I didn't have this power right now, this electricity, would I be able to survive? And there's a part of me that's probably like, no. And that's why I was asking about this land based camp that you went to. I feel like I need to do more of that because, like you said, the fast life, the go, 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 like that is me. Like I'm always busy, I'm always on the go, I'm always like traveling here and there. And I think the biggest thing for me, even this year, is just to try to slow down, just try to slow down and again, just connecting to the land, being more connected to the land because that is what I'm missing right now. And I just love that you shared all of that because I think a lot of our listeners might be in the same boat as me, just on the go all the time.
Like ever since I came home to Cold Lake, it's been such a healing, like building my roots. Because my great grandma, she was really traditional. She did moose hides, she set nets, she grew her own garden, she chopped wood. She like was always picking berries. She was always doing something consistently, right? And for me, not growing up with that, it was a big disconnection, right? Because my family lost their treaty rights. Like the Desjardins, they lost their treaty rights and had to live in the city as part of it because my mom and her siblings, the younger siblings, were part of the 60s scoop. So they didn't grow up with like the land. They didn't grow up with the culture and like so much of the language, you know? So there that's when it started. We didn't have a family home to go back to, and we still don't have that. So since I've been coming home, like I moved back around June, July, around there. Anyways, yeah, I learned to set net. I learned to set up TP. I learned like how we did hides, and it was so beautiful doing the winter scraping and flushing the hides. And I love that type of things. And we're cutting ikane, you know, dry meat, and we're like fixing the moose, and we like cleaned the porcupine. We cleaned rabbits. We made some rabbit stew with the elders. Like I did that just yesterday. There's so many things that I'm so thankful for since I've been home, and I really love it. It's the youth. It's what I love about my job is working with the youth and helping families, because I didn't grow up with that, like the way that it is, you know. But I did grow up with my aunties and my older uncles and them taking care of me and sharing their teachings, you know. I grew up like my aunties and uncles, they used to take me in as a kid all the time, even though my mom didn't know how to be a mom because she wasn't brought up with like parenting and stuff. So like, cause my real grandpa, he had shot himself, right? And so like it's a lot of heartache. Yeah, so I didn't know my real grandpa, and I didn't. But the my all my aunties and uncles, they were all from the same, like my same grandma and grandpa. And then I was raised by like my white grandpa, which my grandma later remarried, but she never married. But I mean, she moved forward after all that heartache and stuff. So, anyways, long story short, like my grandparents, they helped instill those teachings in me, and my family helped raise me. And that's like what I continue to share today, is that with my heart that I have, I wouldn't want someone to go through what I went through, you know? And it's like, because I grew up in a home where everyone just took in everybody. They just took in their nieces, they took in their nephews, you know? And that's just part of the way. And like, even though when we had feasts and stuff like that, they always fed the children first. And that was a teaching, I guess, from my great grandma. We always feed the children first, then the elders, and then, like, you know, the adults last. Because our young people, they're our future. They're the ones carrying on these traditions. They're the ones carrying on these protocols. They're the ones that are going to be continuing these ceremonies. They're the ones that are going to be picking the medicine. They're the ones that are going to be defending the water, because it's their future. And what we show them now, we have a choice. We could show them that negative lifestyle, that bougie lifestyle, or we could show them the ways of our healing, the ways of the land, because we're small compared to what's out there.
Girl, I just learned so much from you in just this short time. She just holds so much knowledge. So much knowledge. I am so inspired. I just love it so much. We're going to talk a little bit more about the land based practices. How do land based practices like hide tanning, beading, and quill work shape not only your art, but the way you move through business?
Well, like in my 20s, I first learned to do hides when I was 18, 19. No, I just turned 19. And it was by this 90-year-old elder, Elsie, and it was in Heart Lake. So I went to this program with Portage College, and I took that Native Cultural Arts Instructor program. It's a mouthful, I know. But that's when I first did my first moose hide, and with my late friend Bella. Yeah, so we got to like put brains all over the hide and like scrape hides and all that. It only was like 3 to 4 weeks kind of thing. And then I met my kid's dad, and like I am thankful for him because he gave me my beautiful children, and I learned a lot from the Deneb. We just have our differences because his mom was part of residential school, his dad was part of residential school. I understand from his point of view. Like I'm able to forgive him for what he put me through. Yeah, so I understand that. And when I was in my 20s is when I really learned to do moose hides. I did that with his mom, and then she learned from her mom, and then her mom learned from her mom. So it's like passing it down. And then I thought that like with Helen, she taught me how to do hides, and we had to like do it basically by ourselves as women, and we came together and helped one another. And even like the kids uncles would help like to wring out the hide and stuff like that. It's like such a process. It's so beautiful and it's so healing because, like, to work on a hide, you get beautiful, beautiful moccasins, or you get beautiful mucklucks, or you get a beautiful, like, I really want to make a moss bag someday. That's like gonna put in the universe. I learned caribou tufting. I learned how to make baskets. I learned how to cut up moose. I learned how to clean geese. I learned how to clean ducks. And I didn't grow up this way. Like, I grew up poor. Like, I had to, like, when I was a kid, I had to live off macaroni and salt, or macaroni and soy sauce, or macaroni and ketchup. Like, yeah, I grew up poor. So I didn't grow up the way that I'm living now. And I love moose meat and I love living off the land. And since I started changing the way I eat, things have been a lot like better for my body. And like picking berries, like, that's a skill in itself. Like, people may like make fun of it and make all these like gestures about being a berry picker, but really it's good. It's good medicine to know those kind of things. Instead of going to the grocery store, instead of everything, you don't know what you're eating nowadays. Like, if you really badass to grow a garden and to learn how to harvest it and put it into canning, because then you're like helping, what's in your food, what you're consuming, and that it's good for your body, mind, and spirit. It's just like when we set net, we know that the fish is good for our minds. They call it fish food for a reason. It's good for your brains. And it's good because it helps us. There's different things for different time of the year. Like eating duck and all that is so good when you come back like in April, May. And then having soup and stuff like that, and like rabbit stews, and then having moose meat and all that good stuff.
Honestly, I don't even remember the last time I've had duck. I'm like, oh, actually, I've had duck. Oh my gosh, this was like 2017. Oh my gosh. It was barbecue duck, anyways. I think it's called some Happy restaurant in Edmonton, downtown in the inner city core. But they have like the best barbecue duck. Oh my gosh, it's just so yummy. If I can make duck like that, then I'd have duck all the time.
I had duck too, and at the end of November they did like this thing for my reserve wiper, and they had like a
Mm.
Christmas dinner, and they had fancy duck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You just gobble it all up.
Yes.
We're going to get into the resilience and transformation. So you've transformed deep pain, homelessness, trauma, addiction, and violence into purpose. What did reclaiming your voice look like during that journey?
A lot of crying, a lot of self-compassion, a lot of forgiveness of self, and being more gentle to myself, because I held a lot of shame, I held a lot of guilt, and I didn't know how to be good to me. Because, like, a lot of times we grow up blaming ourselves, we grow up gaslighting ourselves, we grow up with all this pain and hurt, and we don't realize that it's like a ticking, walking bomb sometimes. And they say we take it out on the closest people to us. And I really do believe that. Until you start doing the work and start like reaching out, talking to our elders, talking to psychologists, talking to people in community that are able to help you, because sometimes you can't do it alone. Sometimes you need to go to AA, sometimes you need to go to Al-Anon, sometimes you need to do stuff with other people, because it takes a community to raise a village. You're not alone.
Absolutely. I was actually going to mention that earlier when you were talking about your childhood and how you had different family members raising you, and those family members would bring other people into the home and take care of them. And that's just how our people are. It takes a community to raise each other and be there for each other. And I think sometimes we forget that we're not alone. I know for myself, I tend to spend a lot of time by myself. Like, I'm always like, majority of the time I'm just by myself. Like, it's like me and my daughter. Um it's like, go to work, do what I got to do, come home, and then I'm just at home. And obviously that's not really healthy for my mental health, because I just get stuck in that isolation. You sharing like everything that you've learned and the land base, that is like a reminder for myself, like that's what I need to be doing, and not keeping myself isolated. At times I feel like, oh, I'm protecting my peace, or I'm protecting my energy, but really it's like, no, you're not really doing that. You need connection. You need to be visiting with good people and those that you can learn from. And I just really appreciate you sharing that. After your life-changing accident, how did your relationship with art, spirits, and self shift?
Well, I got hit by a vehicle and I had a blood clot, so they had to do an operation and I have loss of hearing and I have to learn to walk again. So that really shaped my life differently. So like they said there was a chance that I wouldn't be able to walk again. There was a chance that I wouldn't have been able to be like what I do now. And I barely survived. I had like 50 staples on the back of my head. As a reminder, I have a big scar right here. Every day
Mm,
I wake up and I'm thankful that I can walk. I'm so thankful that I can dance. I'm so thankful that I can do art. It's mind over matter and we have to build. Like they say, when you wake up, to be thankful for three things. Even when you go to bed, to be thankful for three things. And that changes your brain. It changes the trauma and it helps you. And so for me to be here, and I love dancing. I was just jigging on Monday night. I love dancing. I love Latin dancing. I love hip hop. I want to do powwow someday. And I really love like grand dancing and like all that. And I remember the very first drum song I ever learned was Darling Don't Cry. Or the other one's like Ask Your Mom for 50 cents, way, hey, ho. Ask your mom for 50 cents, way, hey, ho. She jumps so high, she touches the sky. She didn't come down to the 4th of July. Yeah, we learned drum songs in school.
yes, of course. Like even the hello, hello, Tonse, Tonse.
Yes, that we were just singing
we
that
were
too on Monday night.
I was my friend and I we were just making a joke about it the other night that because Bonneville's going to be hosting their talent show here in February,
Yeah.
and we were making a joke that that's what we'll sing. We'll go on stage and we'll sing the Hello Tansei song and get everybody going.
Yes. That would be beautiful. It's good. And I totally can't wait because I know that they're gonna do jigging there and it's
I'll just see you on stage and I'll just be cheering you on.
no, you're gonna come dance too.
Okay, okay, yep. Sign me up.
Yes.
So hip hop and poetry became powerful tools for you. What did it feel like to finally be heard, especially in spaces like iHuman?
Damn. When I was growing up, they thought I was mute because I didn't talk. I didn't talk because I didn't feel safe. And they put me in they even showed me sign language when I was like a little girl when I should have been at home with my mom. When child welfare took me for speaking the truth about being sexually abused, they put me in a foster home instead of helping my mom. My mom
Mhm.
was going through addictions at the time and stuff like that. All I really needed was my mom's hugs and my mom there, and she couldn't even be there because of what child welfare did to us. I still live in fear today about losing my children and living in that fear that they're going to end up in somebody else's home. I still carry that today, and it's not something that I know that's not going to happen, but I still have that fear that they installed in me when I was a little girl. So like being able to share my poetry, being able to use my voice in a good way has really changed everything. You know, I Human and Boyle Street both helped me find my voice. They both helped me share my lived experiences, knowing that I wasn't alone. And to be surrounded by other hip hop artists, knowing that we're not alone in this, is so empowering and it's so beautiful because you never know how someone's song can help you. We never know how that one poem can help us change our way of life and the way that we view things and the way that we feel things. It's just like graffiti artists, they may not be speaking, but they share a beautiful story with all their vivid colors. And then you talk about artists like painting and stuff like that, and they make beautiful, beautiful murals, and they don't even have to say a word, and sometimes you can just feel it.
Mhm.
And it's like the same with like music. And it's like the same, like some of us are good with our words and some of us are good at like helping us heal. And I didn't always grow up with a television, so I always had music.
Yes. Yep. Same here. Absolutely. When I was a kid, I grew up in Thunderchild for like part of my childhood or whatever, and that was the biggest thing for me was being out on the land. I was always outside, even in the wintertime. I was always outside, and if I was indoors, I was listening to music. I was listening to Madonna. I don't know why I was like 10, 11 years old listening to Madonna.
Right?
But she was so artistic and so beautiful. I feel like she was like one of the people that I looked up to, even though I was just a kid. I just was so inspired by her. She just lived so boldly and with no care. She just did her. And even to this day, she's still like that.
Yes.
So let's go into the legacy and teachings. You often speak about ancestral memory and being your grandmother's prayers. How does that teaching guide you the way you create and teach today?
Well, there's this poem I would like to share. Yeah, it's called Gift to Heal My Heart. I'm a borrowed gift from the Creator. I long to return to the lake, to the land where my great grandma lived, where she thrived, where the air smells pure. I long to connect to my roots, to feel connected to the grandma I hold dearly to my heart. I long to walk on the dirt road to the Saskatoon brush, to pick berries for a pie or berry soup, or just to eat handfuls of. I long to hear the stories of my elders in their youth, the hunting stories, the stories with life lessons. I long to hear my language spoken, to hear the songs of my people. I want a life of meaning, a life that cares for Mother Earth. I long to pick medicines that help my people, those natural leaves, barks, plants, and roots that cure diseases. I long to return to the water, to let go my trouble with prayers and offering of tobacco. I long for an ecosystem where the water is safe to drink. I long to be at my grandma's house where the aroma of smoked hide fills my senses, to see her sewing moccasins as she sits in her flowered armchair with the lamp on. I long for a fresh cup of warm tea to soothe my throat and send warmth to my tummy. I long to build a home where my children are safe, a home with space outside to build wooden frames to tan moose hides. I want to be in a place under the stars where I can hear my ancestors' prayers. I want to dance to the drum beat, to be in the rhythm with the heartbeat that connects to my soul. I want to sing songs of healing. I want to know the words. I long to escape from the overpowering of materialism, capitalism that devours our soul. I long to get away from the anger, the aggressions of those who silently feed their demons with booze or drugs. I long to understand why our way of life is not important as the iron statues built to honor the colonizers. I long to see past the concrete buildings that hides the blood of my people. I long for the truth that heals our people, that lifts our spirit. I long for a place to call home, a place where I am free, a place to heal my heart. I am a borrowed gift from the Creator. Hi, hi, Mossy.
Oh my gosh, that just brought me to tears. I could just feel the passion and the strength and the spirit in that poem. I really resonated with all of that because I long for that too. And I hope that not only for myself, but like for all our people that have experienced the impacts of intergenerational trauma, the impacts of these systems that were designed to keep our people failing, like the justice system, the healthcare system, the education system, like all these systems that were built on colonization and to keep our people suppressed, and none of those systems were ever ours, like, and that's not how our people thrive. Your poem was just so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So beautiful. Hi, hi. I wasn't expecting to cry today. I was like trying so hard to like keep it together, but as you kept sharing and just the tone and in your voice, I'm like, yes, man. Yes, that's exactly like matriarch right here. Beautiful matriarch. And I'm so blessed to be sitting here with you. Yes, thank you so much for that. What does it mean to you to establish a livelihood that future generations, especially your children, can look to and learn from?
I think as a parent, we just want to raise them with good values. We want to raise them so that they could leave our nest, that they could take care of themselves, you know? And what we do, they're watching. What we aren't doing, they're watching, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. It's so true. Our kids just watch everything that we do. And I think one of my things that I kind of struggle with is just always trying to look perfect or whatever. So when I spend a lot of time trying to fix myself up, whether that's putting on makeup or whatever, my little girl's like watching me. And so anything that I do, she wants to do it too. So if I put lip gloss on, she wants to put lip gloss on. Or if I put body spray on, she wants to put body spray on. It's not that it's the wrong things to be showing her, but I need to be getting out to the land more and taking her out to the land and showing her that this is what's more important than smelling good.
Well, you don't want to smell good when you're in the bush, right? You'll just have bees chasing you or wasps.
Exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's not always about the image. Like, come on.
Right? But it does feel good. We can't embrace both. There's a
Hmm.
time and place to do both. Like when you're on the land, nature's not going to care what you look like. The
Exactly.
bugs aren't going to care. They'll probably like your perfume,
Where's my bug spray?
right? Your cologne of the bush.
So, when you're teaching Dene cultural arts, what do you hope youth and families walk away carrying in their spirit?
Well, um for me personally, it's because they told us when we were young to go out there, go get educated, then come home with the teachings.
Mm.
Because when I was growing up, all I seen people do was drink. And if it wasn't drinking, I saw them doing drugs. So what I wanted to do was learn the teachings so that our kids have a different way of life, so that they see us doing that. If it's snowshoeing, if it's setting snares, if it's, being on those trails that haven't been walked on in generations, and it's like passing on something, Our our elders, they had a way of teaching us gently or sometimes harshly, depending on if we listened or didn't listen, or you had to go get that willow child. But I mean, yeah. Yeah, like, everything had a teaching and everything had a purpose. And either we listened or we didn't listen, or they talked to us or didn't talk to us. They were showing us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that needs to be passed on. We have our hands, and it is our good medicine. You can build a house with them. You can do sewing, you can do beading, you can do hides, there's so many beautiful uses with our hands in itself, and it helps us. We don't always have to have a pen. We don't always have to have that typing on the computer. There is other uses. Sometimes having a social media break. Sometimes it's like picking up a book if you need to, because some of us don't have knowledge keepers in our lives, and some of us carry stories, and there's different people in the tribe for different purposes. Because not everybody's going to be able to fix a house. Not everybody's going to be a medicine holder. Not everybody is going to run ceremonies. It's finding your place and your purpose and being good to you and helping someone when you can. It's not just like that every day. Because sometimes, right now, there's so much homelessness. There's so much where people with vulnerabilities and didn't get the chance at life. And it wasn't their fault. It was the pain that they hold. And who knows, they could have been a knowledge keeper too. We don't know their story. We don't know where they come from or why they are there. A lot of us are broken children living in adult bodies sometimes. And it's up to us.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to reach out. Because I'm tired of burying my people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired of going to family functions, and it's mostly for funerals. I lost
Mm-hmm.
so many people last year.
I wonder what it would look like if we were to build like a land-based camp for those that are living on the streets right now or struggling with addictions. Like, wonder what that would look like in our nations where we could just take a piece of land and have our people come there and do those land-based teachings, whether that's, going and getting teepee poles and, carving the wood and making poles, or building a fire, like something as simple as building a fire and using that as a resource to keep warm. I wonder what that would look like, and how, our leaders could even develop something like that, because there's some communities that are creating like wellness centers or treatment centers, which is great, but we need something like right now while these buildings are being developed and these programs and these policies are being created. We need something right now so that our people aren't, roaming the streets and even freezing to death. Right now it's like what, -45 weather. They could be living in a teepee right now with a fire, something as simple as that. What would that look like for our nations to create something like that? And it wouldn't be hiring people, because we would have our people that are needing these resources and this safety. They would be the ones doing it, because they would be using their gifts, their hands, like going and chopping down a tree. I wonder what that would look like, and if it would be something that could ever happen.
Right? Because when we were brought up with our teachings and before, like the way that they lived, they didn't have a lot and they lived humbly, they lived in purpose. And they didn't need these structures, they didn't have a lot. They just had the wood, the bush, and they had
Hmm.
like the animals and that way of life. And I think that would be really beautiful to see more land based, to be able to help heal our people. Cause I too agree with that. And like we need something right now.
Hmm. Something right now people that need it can go to, and bringing
More
them
safe
back to
spaces.
community. Yes,
Sorry.
bringing them back to community rather than pushing them away and letting like other places, I guess, deal with them. I'm thankful for the John Howard Society and Cookham's Corner. I'm grateful for those agencies, but it really comes down to our nations that should be doing something, and building land-based healing camp would be the best way to start that. And it wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take much, because you're using the land to build these structures like a teepee. You would be using wood just to create a fire instead of having to use electricity, or gas, right? It'd be natural resources, not these man made ones that you have to pay for, that you have to get safety inspections for. And I feel like we should create something like that.
That would be beautiful. Cause some of their old structures of their homes are built from like over 100 years ago, cabins, and they're still standing.
Hmm.
Like, it just goes to
Absolutely.
show, like, how much, like, we were gifted with our hands and our
Hmm.
knowledge. I still see houses here in Cold Lake First Nations that have been standing for over 100 years. And these are like cabins that they built. And even on Hahtue, Primrose, there's some houses that they recently they discovered that was from like our people, the here in Dana structures are still intact. That's crazy. That's like over
Exactly.
150 years.
Exactly. Yes. So we're going to get into the last bit of this interview, reflection and advice for Indigenous artists and creatives who are struggling to believe they can survive or thrive through their gifts. What truth do you want them to hear today?
Just keep doing your art. Even if you have to take it apart, do it again. Or, be good to you and be gentle to you. And if it makes you happy, do it. Don't chase, just welcome like your gifts. Embrace it. You're giving gifts for a reason. You were there to share those teachings for a reason. You were there and to be good to you and to love you.
Yes, I love that. Don't chase, just keep moving forward. That is such a beautiful reminder. I always try to make things so perfect. And if it doesn't go that way, the way I want it, it makes me frustrated. And just listening to you say that, I'm like, okay, I need to work more on, not work more, but just be more patient and just do it. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to be
and you said it
perfect.
too. You said it too. You need patience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's one thing about sewing and beading. You need patience. Like we as in the hustle culture, we want something to be done in a day, like those machines that get things done in a day. But we're humans. We are meant to make mistakes. We are meant to take longer because each stitch, when it's handmade, lasts longer than a machine stitch, you know? Like even like this like ribbons like this, long time ago they would all sew it by hand. If it was like a tea dress or if it was with hide, it would take a long time to make that jacket for that person or that vest for that person. And it was like one stitch at a time or one bead at a time or one porcupine at a time. And that's a lot of porcupines if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. What are you currently dreaming into or calling forward in the next season of your life and business?
I hope well, I hope to build a house one day when I like to build a house. I hope to have an RV so I can travel and bring these teachings and my art everywhere. I hope to do a fashion show someday. That's like one of my goals. I hope to take up spaces that are safe spaces and to be with like-minded people and to eat yummy food and to go to more ceremonies, to live in balance and yeah.
That would be so cool to see you do a fashion show because you are so creative. And even with your tea dress that you're wearing right now, that's a tea dress, right? Yes, that like the colors on it, the design on it, it's just so beautiful. I just love it. And it would be so cool to see your work on Indigenous models and walking down the runway. That'd be so awesome.
It would be
And if
so
you do,
beautiful.
if and when, I'm gonna definitely be there cheering you on.
You know what'd be dope? Is like to have like other people too to come, like other artists and like DJs and stuff like that, and make it with live
Yes.
music and make it, like beautiful art and taking up that spaces and having good food and conversations. That's like good, empowering, and yes, like passing it on and showing the young people
Yes.
that they could do that too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. Put it into the universe. Yes. Maybe
Yes.
not this year, but maybe next year. Either way, it's going to happen. And of course, you have those connections with Coal Lake. I feel like they would just support that and have your back. And, that would be so cool to see. So, but before we close, I just want to say thank you, Jasmine, for sharing your truth, your journey, and your medicine with us today. Your story is a reminder that entrepreneurship isn't just about building income, it's about building legacy, healing, and pathways for those coming behind us. To everyone listening, thank you for sitting in circle with us for this episode of the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Series. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure you like, share, and support Indigenous artists and business owners doing this work with intention and heart. And just a little heads up, February is coming in hot. Our next series is dedicated to Indigenous love and relationships. We'll be welcoming new guests, real conversations, truth, laughter, healing, and yes, all the juicy vibes. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. What's coming next? Until then, keep your tea warm, your spirit full, and your intentions clear. This is Muskeg Tea with Chantel G. Thank you for being here. Hi, hi, exe.